How big can I get my heart to be?
Thought Media Network proudly presents
How much love can I get flowing out of me?
The Real Talk Sisters. Deep, unfiltered, soulful conversations with Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley, Reverend Kim Andrews, and Reverend Melinda Wood Allen.
How big can I get my heart to be?
Join us for Real Talk on Real Issues. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Central, 1 o'clock Mountain. And now, let's join the Real Talk Sisters.
How big can I get my heart to be?
Hello.
Howdy.
All the Whoville are here today.
Say what?
I said all the Who's in Whoville are here.
Well,
Still my favorite Christmas show.
Oh, and the one with who's the one that we like that gets the Grinch? Carrie. I love that. Jim Carrey.
No, the original cartoon.
Favorite. The original cartoon is my favorite.
Well,
Yeah.
I just love the one with Jim Carrey. It's just so crazy. But I was reading a thing once, and we'll come back to that in a second about Jim Carrey. But my name is Reverend Pjae Stanley, and this is Real Talk Sisters. Thank you so much.
Yes, it is. And my name is Melinda Wood Allen, and I'm from the Church of One Love in Dallas, Texas. Really, really glad to be here talking real talk about the Grinch with my sisters.
Okay, all right. Let's break it down.
It doesn't get any deeper than that, I think. And I am Kim Andrews. I am spiritual leader at Unity Saxe in Saxe, Texas, and I'm happy to be here as well. And we are all three together. That's the best always.
Always the best. Great conversations. I was talking to my daughter a couple days ago. She's going through some stuff. And I was actually talking to a girlfriend today that's going through some stuff. And I said, the only thing that has saved me from not from going through stuff, but getting through stuff is my partners in believing. Melinda and Kim, you have to get yourself you got to get yourself a couple. That's it. You got to do that. Just get yourself some partners.
Get you some.
Get you some.
Go to Sam.
If you can't get you some,
Club, Costco, wherever they sell them. I don't know. But
get you some, baby. Or come here to Real Talk Sisters, and we'll be your partners.
We will. We will. Absolutely.
We are your partners. Yeah. So today we are talking about.
We are still working through the 4 agreements, and we are on agreement number
3.
Don't make assumptions. Egads. What else is there? We make assumptions out of fear of asking for clarification, then defend the assumptions we've made. Assumptions set us up for suffering.
Yes. You.
I can second that emotion.
Yeah. So you can take that down, Zoe, and we'll start talking a little bit about that. Yeah.
So assumptions essentially means I don't have very much information at all, and I'm going to make up a story, and I'm going to believe it. And then I'm going to act from my belief about the story that I just made up based on almost no information at all. That is what emotions are.
Yeah.
And sometimes no information. We just come out of the gate.
Well, yep. We do it.
There's a I can't think of his name. The black movie star. He's a snakes on a plane and just all this crazy stuff. He makes like more movies than anybody in Hollywood. And I can't think of what his name is, but anyway, he was in a particular show, and he said, I love it when he talked about assumptions. He said, assumptions make an ass out of you and umption. And
an umption. I like it. Is it Samuel Jackson? Is that who you're talking about?
Well, Samuel L. That's what it is. Samuel L. Yeah. So assumptions just make an ass out of you and umption. No, stop doing that.
I remember the first time I ever
saw a lot of umption over there.
All that phrase was when I went to see the Bad News Bears at the Saturday double feature that my brother and sister and I used to go to. We'd pay 50 cents for a movie.
Love it.
Get $1, pay 50 cents for the movie, and with the other 50 cents, get a drink and a popcorn and a pickle.
Oh my God.
Right? That's how old I am. But remember on the Bad News Bears, writing ass you, me, and my first thought was, I'm telling my mother they said ass on this movie. And here I am saying ass right out.
Right out and loud on the radio for everybody to hear. You know, just but it's just it's one of the things, the biggest things for me. And there's a lot of things about assumptions, but part of what I found is that people will make assumptions because they don't want to look stupid, and so we say assumptions because we make assumptions because we don't want to ask for clarification about something. You were talking, Kim, about your class and the difference between some sides of mind people and unity people. If you aren't open to asking questions, you'll sit there either feeling stupid or thinking that they're making you feel stupid, whatever it is, because if you don't ask questions, get clarity about, then you don't even find that actually we're pretty well talking about the same thing, which is using different words.
Or assuming that they know something that you don't.
No,
exactly. Or assuming that you disagree when you actually have to clarify.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of assumptions have to do with how you actually feel about yourself.
And actually what was going on is that everybody in the class felt the same way.
Yes.
We have imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's that's a shared, like a collective ego assumption that we go into situations with this, often into new situations with an assumption that everybody here knows something that I don't know. Yes. Everybody here they're all together. They've got it all together, or they're all friends with each other, or they're whatever. And I'm an odd man out. That is a collective. That is something that we pull from the collective, I guess, because it's so much a part of what we do.
It really is.
And a good example of that, I was an Army brat, and I'm an introvert, essentially. I know I don't stop talking once I start, but it takes me a while to start talking. And moving schools every year or 2 years, I went to 9 schools in 11 years.
Yeah.
So being the new kid in school,
wow.
all the time. And it wasn't so bad when you were a new kid in the school where everybody else was military, so they were new kids too. But a lot of times we lived in housing that was off post. Mm-hmm. So that you might be in a community of people who've lived together their whole life, who've been together since kindergarten.
Yes.
You are truly the interloper when you get there in 8th or 9th grade.
I felt very jealous of those people.
Over and over and over again, the way I approached, I would sit in my desk and I would think, please somebody be my friend. Please somebody be my friend. I just need somebody, please be my friend. And then make the assumption, well, no one's talking to me, so they don't like me. Yes. They think I'm weird. They think I'm funny looking. They think I'm not worth their time. They think, all these stories that I was making up in my head. And usually by about the end of a school year, or maybe by Christmas, I would finally find a friend after eating lunch by myself for 5 months, I would finally find a friend. And I would say, how come you didn't talk to me before? And they would say, everyone thought you were stuck up. Stuck up? The opposite of what I was. But what they were assuming, she's not saying a word to anybody. She must think she's really something.
Isn't that something?
And we were operating on these assumptions that were so complete. They weren't even based on the tiniest bit of truth. They were absolutely the opposite of what was actually going on. Yeah. And yet,
and I know that I shared with you, I was raised the same way. I was an Army brat and moved around, to a school, and I loved it. I loved not having to face the same teacher. Like I could start new and have a fresh, record. And nobody really know, any things that I had done. And so I really loved it. And I made the assumption that my siblings loved it too. Mm. And I would tell stories, even as a grown-up, about how much we all loved traveling and going to different places until, I don't know, a few years back, I had to be in my 40s, maybe older. And my sister, my baby sister, Essie, Kim, she just stood, she goes, I am sick of you telling that story. That is only true for you. What? I never questioned that. I just assumed we all felt the same way. Yeah. It's just amazing what why you own something and just feel like that's the truth.
Well, and one of the most common ways that we assume is to assume that everyone else is thinking the way that we think.
The way that we think.
So
Right.
I'll walk into a room and think everybody here is shy and not wanting anybody to make to make a big noise.
Yeah.
Husband walks into a room assuming that everybody wants to party
With him.
and I'm like, hush, you're bothering people is kind of my thing, because I would be bothered if this guy that I didn't know was just coming and being big and loud. And he's like, everybody, what do you mean? Everybody loves to have fun and blah, blah, blah. And we both work on these assumptions based upon what's true for us.
Exactly.
When we happen to know that there are as many individual ways of being as there are individuated souls on this planet.
Absolutely.
So wow. So we begin. So we don't assume. We begin to ask.
Yeah.
We begin to ask.
And I'm gonna come. You're sitting there kind of quietly, so I'm not gonna make a little point. Just have you say something, but I'll come back to this later. What are your thoughts? Because you're the quiet one. So.
I think it's making assumptions is part of the human condition, because we have these active brains that are always calculating and analyzing, and our subconscious is in the mix, and we're not aware of what's happening with the subconscious. At the same time, the reptilian brain is paying attention to all the thoughts going on in our heads, and so it's looking to protect us. And I think that's where the assumptions are taking us, trying to protect us from something.
Oh, yeah.
And we pay attention to it. So I think we talk so much about self-awareness. I think we're all going to make assumptions, but I think we have to be aware when we have thoughts. Is this true, or am I spiraling somewhere and making stuff up? And it's not really true. And so there are times I have to stop myself and say, what am I basing this on?
Yeah.
And where am I going with this? Or should I just throw that thought out and really use my discernment to truly analyze what's going on?
Yeah.
And do I need to do something or not do something?
Exactly.
Technology is really having some fun with us.
It's had some fun today. Yeah, it's having some fun with all of us. It's fine. It's going to do what it's going to do. It's going to keep on working. And one of the things that might be good, I don't know. I'm just throwing this out right now. It just occurred to me because we were saying that we just walk up and just assume something. What if we just walked up and asked a question instead of making a statement? What if we just walked up and asked a question?
Walk up and say, "Hey, are you sitting here by yourself because you want to be alone, or would you welcome some company?"
Exactly. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Just checked in. What happened then? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even if you said, "Are you sitting over here because you think you're better than us?" And it gives somebody an opportunity to say, "Oh no, it's certainly not that."
Yeah.
Or yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I don't care for you people at all. You're loud.
I do think I'm better than you are. So, yeah. There's nothing for us to discuss. But at least you have the truth, right? You could ask a question, and then you don't have to make assumptions. You don't have to spiral down.
Yeah. So
And then the whole situation spirals down. Yes.
Exactly. So for me, the mostly truth of me, and of course, truth is, it's not dependent, not ultimate truth, but there are some truths that are dependent on how you're feeling or whatever. But for me, I like to think that not only do I want to come up with and to talk about issues, like what's going on, we make assumptions, but also solutions, because just throwing out issues all the time, that doesn't do anything. To say, this is an issue, what can be done? What do we want to do? What will we commit to doing? Is this an issue for just me? Or is it an issue in communication for everyone? Or mostly? And that would be an assumption. If I said it was for everyone, that'd be an assumption. So, it would take some thoughtfulness, just not diving into conversations without thinking about it. What do you want to get from this conversation? I don't know. All kinds of questions you could ask yourself before you even speak. How about that?
The other thing about, asking questions is, we are tribal in nature. And so anytime we stick our neck out to do something different than what the crowd is doing, there's a risk there that we're going to be thrown out of the pack. And we don't want that. We don't want that. And so there's safety in staying with the pack and doing what the pack is doing. And it takes that courage to step out and say, gee, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to ask a question. Because maybe what I'm assuming and what, if I'm with others who are assuming the same thing and we're kind of forming a clique here, that I'm going to go ahead and say something, and perhaps that they're going to kick me out of the pack, but that's okay. I can stand on my own.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I love that you said that. It's okay because you can stand on your own, but not everybody feels that way. You know, some people don't. Feels that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I feel that way, and I think it could be, and I don't know what it's about. It could be my own more natural personality. It could be some of the things that I learned growing up. It could be because of the travel and having to, come from different thoughts and ideas, and then having to be able to stick up for myself or whatever. But it seems to me that my experience says that most people do exactly what you just said. They just kind of want to fit in, and so there's a fear of speaking up, of being different, of getting kicked out of the pack, of people saying, "What do you mean?" And then you've got to defend what you just said. And many people will say something without actually knowing why they say it or why they believe it, so unable to defend it. So again, not wanting to say it,
Yeah.
Guys' thoughts about that?
Yeah, you really have to know who you are.
Like Melinda's like, thoughts about what now?
No, and we can probably safely assume that a lot of people don't know who they are.
Yes.
We can certainly assume that we don't know who they are unless we've done some investigation. And that even when they explain to us, that's one of the things Don Miguel goes pretty deep into, is that every word in our language has a different connotation for every person that's speaking it. So if we do get clarification, there's no guarantee that your explanation is what I'm hearing, that what you think you're saying is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
So, I love the Dalai Lama says that a safe assumption to make is that all people are trying to be happy and not suffer.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's trying to do. And when we can, if we're going to, and Don Miguel Ruiz also says, if you're going to make up a story, why not make up a good story? Why? Because we do tend to make up the worst story. I'm going to assume something, and I'm going to assume malintent on your part. I'm going to assume that you're out to get me. I'm going to assume that, what did you mean by that? Not like, well, what did you mean by that? But what did you mean by that? That if we make an assumption that everybody is working off of the same, everybody just wants to be happy and not suffer.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be happy and not suffer. Then that's a safer assumption to begin with. And from that safer assumption, it's easier to ask questions and get information than if we start with an assumption that is based on conflict.
Yes. Yeah. Great. Exactly.
Yeah, we'd be a lot further down the line towards peace and unity and harmony if we assumed good intentions.
Yeah.
Until proven otherwise, and proven otherwise, not assumed.
Yeah.
Again,
we'll be talking about this in one of the our final thing on the agreements, and that is that do your best. If we made an assumption that people were doing their best, how would we approach them then when we thought about stuff?
Yeah.
When we ask them something, we just assume they're probably doing the best they can. So don't get mad about that. It's like getting upset with children, and you're an adult. They're a child. I'm not saying to look at everybody like they're children and you're an adult, but just making that assumption. I use kids because it's easier for us to make. I believe it is. That's assumption again that I'm making.
Be kinder.
Yeah. Because that they're growing and they're learning. So we have a little bit more leeway. We give them a little more leeway for making mistakes. If we just assume, or possible mistakes, that that people are doing the best they can, to me that's the same kind of idea. And so you just give them some grace and some mercy.
Yeah.
And, if we could
just use that word, I was just thinking, I was reading a book recently, not even a spiritual book, just a book of fiction, but one of the central themes is that grace costs you nothing. Grace costs nothing. So why not give some grace?
Yeah.
And in that, when you do give grace, then there's so much more room. People feel more safe to explain themselves.
Yes.
Whereas when we're all dealing with our assumptions and holding them tightly and not giving grace, then we are approaching it from a place of defense all the time. If you assume that you're being attacked, then you're always on the defensive.
Yes.
Puts other people on the defensive, and then we're all defending something none of us even knows what it is we're defending.
What
You know?
talking about? What's happening right now?
So when you're not attacking me.
And I think grace not only doesn't cost anything, but it can be everything to both the one who's extending grace and the one who's receiving grace. You know, we all are blessed by that. And others who are in the room who get to experience that something has changed.
Yes. Energetically, not just
energetically in the room.
It has changed. You can feel it.
So there can be, a ripple effect that we cannot quantify.
Yes. But we know it's happening.
But we know it's happening.
We
Yeah.
know it's happening. We know it's happening.
Yeah.
So
maybe on that note, we take a break.
Yeah, how about that? Come on back. Yeah. And thanks, Linda, for being here. Good to see you. Or see your word.
Mercury's in red.
Right.
And we're back, except Kim.
We'll hear her voice out there in the universe. So we are talking about the third agreement today. Don't make assumptions.
Because this is the way our minds work. It's literally a way. If you've ever gotten one of those little tests on the internet that has like the first and the last letter of a bunch of words, and you can read the whole paragraph.
Thing. Yes.
Our minds are meant to fill in the blanks, and we're extremely uncomfortable if the blanks are not filled in. And so it is our nature to fill in the blanks, even if we have nothing to fill it in with.
That is a great point.
Yeah. So a lot of this is just about becoming aware, just becoming conscious that it is my nature to try to fill in the blanks. And just because I think it's true doesn't make it so.
Yeah. I love it. Such a valid point. Love that. Yeah. So I remember. I'm just trying to think of what this. I remember the statement. I can't quite remember what I was doing. I could have been singing. You're just happy, whatever. Just walking around happy, singing. And when I'm happy, unconsciously I'm singing. I don't even realize I'm singing. I'm just, and this person, I walked up to them, or maybe she was a salesperson. I don't remember the situation, but I remember what she said. She said, "My goodness, you must think highly of yourself." I just thought, well, I don't necessarily, but clearly you do.
You must think highly of yourself. Well, and what would be wrong with that?
What would be wrong with it? Yeah.
Precisely.
But I hadn't done anything or said anything, but just sung, and there was so much intent for her with me walking around singing that it implied a number of things.
Well, and that was based upon assumptions she was making, and who knows what those assumptions are? They could have been. I'd like to sing, but people tell me I can't sing, so I'm afraid to sing in front of people. It could be. Everybody's happier than I am. I'm the most put upon person in the world. It could be, sure, she can sing. She's pretty. Who knows? Fill in the blank with all kinds of stuff, which is why it's best not to be insulted by what anybody does, because it is back to don't take anything personally.
What about you?
It's about them and not about you.
Yes,
It's
yes.
about them and not about you.
I just love how these agreements come back. You know,
Yeah.
it work really well together. Yeah, it's about you. So,
Yeah, you can almost say if you're in agreement 1, that doesn't work. See agreement 2, see agreement 3. Oh, go back to agreement number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting when I have people say that, something like that. I'll say, oh, as a matter of fact, I do, and so should you, as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
Yeah. So should you. You should think highly of
You
yourself.
should think highly of yourself.
Why not?
Yeah.
And I
Why
think
not?
highly of you too.
Yes.
Why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't I? Precisely. Yeah.
Wouldn't I? And therein lies the rub, is all of the stuff that's going on in our minds, all of the whys that we've experienced or that we've made up, or our own thoughts that we've gotten caught in a loop with, and that we project onto other people. And that's what assumptions are. We have our thoughts and we're projecting them onto other people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
And certainly we all have thoughts in our heads that we don't even know that we have, that just come from the collective, that might come from parents, sisters, other people that we admired have said something that just stuck in the back of our head somewhere. We don't even know until something occurs, and then we get insulted by it, or we so there's an assumption there because you said that because it meant, and it harkens back to something you don't even know it's even in there. But as soon as someone says something and it harkens back to something you've been told, then you're thinking, well, these people must know about that. And they're what they mean when they say that is this back here that I learned. And so I've just been insulted. When I know that I was just trying to think what was the story. When I was in Waco and I was running this women's group, I was kind of sitting there just talking. And this woman was saying that she had been invited for tea at another lady's house, and they was having tea, and it was really great. She loved the place and all that kind of stuff. And she said, and then she ended it with, I have never been so insulted in my life. And I said, what? Because she hadn't said anything to me that I found insulting. And I said, well, what was insulting about it? And she said, well, she served me tea without a saucer. I swear to God, that's what she said. So clearly I had to ask questions about that.
Yeah.
Said, well,
You didn't just assume she was an idiot.
what?
Right. So you
I was absolutely curious about that.
where did that come from? That makes me
I was curious.
Why would it be insulting to not
Yes.
receive a saucer?
Correct. Yes, and I
She might have been assuming that you don't spill and that you didn't need a saucer. Because
Who knows? Exactly. And she said to me, she said, well, her mother told her that good manners, required that when you serve people tea, you served it in a cup with a saucer. And I said, okay, well, what would happen if she was raised with mugs? She never, what would happen then? Would it be insulting then? There's that. I mean, so I just started asking questions because it was such an interesting.
her response to that. Did
She just said she did her little, the whole dog hearing something high in the ear thing.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
No
It was-
saucers.
Yeah, it was nothing she'd ever thought about, because the reason why I said it was because she had such a great time and wonderful things to say about this person up until that point. And then the whole saucer thing, which to me was like, if I have a cup and a saucer and the saucer broke, I'm just going to serve the cup. I'm not going to not serve you tea.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just so interesting, again, the things that are in our heads that we don't even know. And I think that this is part of what our partners in believing. You guys did this for me. I will not forget it. Because you do it for me all the time. When you question my conclusions, you question my conclusions. Like, what makes you think that? Because this is what I know. This is what I know to be true about you. And you make me think, oh, that is true. So then if that's true, this other thing cannot be true. Or it's ameliorated, or it's lessened, or any number of things. Yeah. And back to questioning, why is that true for you? So it's a beautiful way to let go of assumptions, but we have
Becomes important another in not making assumptions.
Exactly.
You don't have to do it all by yourself.
You don't.
You can ask for help.
And you can.
I'm assuming that this is what's happening, and I know I'm making an assumption. Help me. Give me some more. Give me another point of view. Give me another point of view.
Right. Exactly. I just need another point of view. And sometimes, even if you don't know, but you don't know that you're making an assumption because you just said it your whole life, you're just repeating something you've been saying. As partners in believing and knowing who your partners are, we get to ask those questions. What do you mean? And just in a loving way. What do you mean? And just get them to talk about what they're saying. And I say, I don't know what the fuck I mean. I don't know what you said about that. I don't know. I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah. I may have made that up out of whole cloth. Imagine.
I can let that go now because that doesn't have any it just has no reference in truth. Does it have? I mean, just okay then. Let me let that go.
Mm-hmm. But part of that, because we have the kind of relationship we have with, the three of us, we know that we do our own work. We know that the others in the other two of us also does their own work, and that we are all self-aware, and we're also in a place in our lives where we do stand on our own, and we are able to be fully in deep, committed relationships, deep friendships. And so we're okay with asking the hard questions. And the others of us, the one who gets the hard question, feels safe to say, oh yeah, okay, yes, I can consider that. Yes. We're not defensive about it. We don't get offended by it. It's just that I know that you know me, and you know that I always want to know myself, that I want to be self-aware as well. Yes. And so I can take the hard questions. And again, not everybody can do that. Not everybody has relationships like that. And so being able to step out and ask a question in a situation that others might find risky is hard for people.
And I can understand that. Not everybody would I turn around and ask that question to or of wouldn't do it because I know they couldn't take it. They wouldn't take it the right way.
And the word that you used, Kim, that really made me start thinking is safety. That it's safe.
Yes.
We have a relationship where it's safe, but taking it back to just within, how can I as an individual make it safe for me to not make assumptions, to be free to ask the question, to get comfortable with my I don't know. Because that is one of the most scary things that human beings, that no one wants to admit they don't know. So they'll act like they do. They'll nod. I'm going to throw my husband under the bus here. Sometimes his hearing isn't that great lately. And he will, when someone asks him something, or they'll say, oh, did you mean? And he'll nod. He didn't hear them, so he nods because he doesn't want to say, I didn't hear you. And he ends up getting something he did not order. because he's just like, Sure.
Because the embarrassment of not having heard.
Yeah. So if we have that embarrassment of not having heard, or of not knowing something that we assume everybody else knows about this, I'm the only one who's completely ignorant, so I'm just going to play along.
Sure.
Yeah. So we have to come up with that safety within ourselves. We have to know in ourselves, it is safe for me to not know.
Right.
As a matter of fact, and you're really good at this, Pjae. You don't try to fake knowing something that you don't know. You are always like, wait a minute, what is that? What is that? Explain that to me. I don't know what that is. And a lot of the times you do know exactly what it is, but you've used different language for it. So you're just getting clarification. And that's something I really admire about you. You don't have a problem with saying, oh, I never heard of that,
What I found in my life, Melinda, and thank you so much for saying that. What I found is when I say yes, that's not the end of it. It'll go into another part of it. I don't know. So I just find myself down a road. I don't know. And I'm digging myself further in. It's easier at the beginning to say, nope, don't know that. Tell me about that. It's from experience. It's not natural.
You don't want to too deep of a hole.
Exactly. So just it's a smaller hole. And I just say no from the beginning. What? That's where that comes from.
Just keep digging.
Yeah.
Let That's also one of the things I admire about you, Pjae. And what I love is that you'll stop anything, because we have been in rooms full of people. Somebody's doing slides up front, and you'll say, "Wait a minute." That word you just used, and stop the whole presentation. I love it. I love it. I love it. Where what I do is I write stuff down and I go look it up. I'll Google it or something like that. I'm looking it up and something, but I love that you will just raise your hand or just raise your voice and say, "Well, you got to back up. You got to back up, because I don't know what the heck you're saying."
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that?
That's funny.
And it's so helpful. And that's something that I've learned,
Yes.
too, especially in that type of situation, is that if I don't understand, chances are that there are other people who don't understand. And,
Yes.
Exactly.
and they might not have the courage to say, "Wait a minute, I don't understand." So I think I'm doing a favor when I say, "Wait a minute, can we clarify that?
Yes.
Do you mean so-and-so, or did you mean, or something else completely?" And it's helpful for everybody. It's helpful.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens for me, because I don't mind looking like a fool. I really don't. I don't care what you think about me, because I know that I'm not. I know I'm smart. I know that there are things I don't know, and I'm okay with it. But I also know that there are other people that haven't gotten there yet, that'll just carry on and then be completely lost. And so I just feel like, hey, I'm the one that can say, "What are you talking about?" Because I've had people come to me like, "I'm so glad you asked that question," whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in I was in my in community college, and I loved math. And the teachers would go on and talk about something, talk about a formula, whatever it is, and they would get to a point. I'm sorry, wait, how did you get from this to point? I got this point up to here. I don't understand how the rest of this sentence worked or how the rest of this formula went. And they say, "Oh, okay, good," and then they tell me whatever. And then I'd go to lunch or something like that with my girlfriends, and they go, "God damn it, you're always asking questions." And I had it until you started asking questions. And I said, "That's a fallacy, honey. If you had it, and then I asked a question, then you didn't,
And wouldn't confuse you. Yeah.
you didn't have it." So they didn't want to hear that either. But I understood that people would think, "Okay, I got this," until you ask a question. No, that's not how it works. Yeah, that's not how it works. And so I just got really comfortable with saying that, and because I could come back and get the whole thing and just talk about it and ask the teacher to explain. Start from the beginning, honey, because we're in the middle now. Because can you please? And most teachers, if they're real teachers,
If they're teachers.
if they're really a teacher, they'll go back, or they'll be happy that you asked the question.
I love questions.
I love questions. It means you're paying attention.
Yes, exactly. Somebody actually listened to me.
Yeah.
I love you. You heard.
Yes, yes, yes.
One less person snoring and drooling.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Let's just agree so we get out of here.
I think if we all would just take a breath and realize that, yes, we may know a lot of things, but we don't know everything. We live in a widely vast and complicated world, and it seems to get more vast and more complicated as the days go by.
Yes.
And we can't know everything. Yes, our brains are taking in billions of signals and lots of information minute by minute, but we're not taking in everything. And it protects us from taking in everything, because our brains would explode.
Yeah.
You can't process everything, nor does your brain want you to. And it's physically impossible. There's way too much of the world. And so if we would just settle back and say, there may be a lot of things I know, but I don't know everything.
I don't.
And I've gotten real comfortable with the fact that I don't even want to know everything. I want to have a command of what it is that I need and what I want to use today, and everything else I can look up.
Right.
If I want to. We
Right.
got a fount of information, many different places. You can research things, analyze things, go deeper into things, and run down as far down the rabbit hole as you want.
Exactly.
But I'm okay with not knowing everything. I really am.
Yeah.
As long as I know that there's something or someone to go to where I can get the information if I need it.
When I need it. Correct. I just
Good.
don't need to hold it. I don't need
Yeah.
to hold all this stuff anymore. And I remember, I think it was Einstein, and everybody, says Einstein said this and Emerson said that. So who knows what they all said, but this was a tribute to Einstein. And somebody was clowning him because he didn't know his phone number. And they was asking for his phone number. He didn't know it. And they said, "You don't know your phone number?" And he said, "I don't remember things that I can look up.
Yes.
I don't remember things."
Yeah.
Okay, this is a genius. We know this. What about you? He doesn't commit stuff to memory. He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Well, if it's good enough for Einstein, it's good enough for me.
My husband always says, I never call myself.
That's what I was thinking. It's like, yeah, that's the number you would call the least.
Okay, exactly.
You had home phones and you would call home from other place. That was one thing. Like I know my husband's number, but people, it always takes me a second. Wait a minute. Is that his number? Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, he always points to me, ask her, because I don't call myself. Yeah. And he's okay with that.
Hello. I'm good with it. So good with it. All right. Is it time for another break already?
Time for another break. We'll talk some more when we get back.
All right.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience? Or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
And we're back.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about, based upon or complimenting what you were talking about, Kim, before the break, that a very, very important tool that we can carry with us at all times is just this sentence: I could be wrong.
No.
I could be wrong. Because we do make assumptions. We're going to make assumptions. We're going to make unconscious assumptions. We're going to make 17 assumptions at the same time in the same situation. Too much for us to parse out. But if we keep this idea in mind, and I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
You know, he's talking to me this way because he thinks I could be wrong about that.
We're wrong about that.
That person, you know, we talked last week about my husband and the people, you know, driving. Oh, you must be a lot more important than I am when they pass them, you know, to try to get in front of him. It's like, well, you know, I could be wrong.
Could be wrong.
Completely wrong. That woman is doing that because she thinks, or he says this because he's this kind of person. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And if we can hold that, oh man, it's one of the most helpful things in the world, because when we believe we are right, we are dangerous.
Yes, I agree.
Dangerous when we believe we're right.
Yeah.
And if we want to truly go through the world not causing harm, being truly harmless, then this idea of, yes, I'm going to have a thought about things, and I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
So I'm open to new information. I'm open to new information.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
I'm open to new information. Yes. Yeah. And there are times when I've realized I was wrong about something, got new information, then I said, oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your times when I realized I was wrong, got new information, and had to go, oh, excuse me. I really need to apologize for my behavior, which was based on an assumption, which I've since found out is not true. It's a lot easier to carry in my mind, I could be wrong, and not get defensive in the first place, than it is to have to go back and apologize for acting upon assumptions that I made that were not correct.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And anytime we're on the defense or offense, we are squirreling away our energy on something we don't need to use it for. We don't.
Yeah, we really don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just this thought, well, I don't know that. You don't know that.
Yeah.
He's doing, you don't know that.
I don't know.
You don't know that.
What else could this be? That's a question that I ask myself when I'm looking at something.
Yeah.
What else could this be? That's it. What else could this be?
Good one. Tool.
Yeah.
I like it. What else could this be?
What else
I
could
could
this
be wrong. You don't know that. What else could this be?
What else could this be?
I'm open to new information.
Yeah.
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 Tell me more.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Tell me more.
Tell me more.
What do you base that conclusion?
Yes.
How do you base that? Yeah. Where'd you get that?
How do you know that to be true? Just how do you know that? What is
Really
what
important to ask myself that question.
yes? What do
I
you?
don't
And
know that to be
you know,
true.
What are you basing that on, Melinda? Oh, years of self-doubt and whatever.
exactly.
Years of defensiveness, self-doubt. Yeah.
Compromising myself in relationships. Yeah, all that.
All that, all that.
Mhm.
We've all come to new thought from a different background. So there's
Yeah.
got to be a lot of assumptions from that background that is with us. Has to be. We didn't just step in there and just let it all fall. We don't know what all it is until something comes up and it grinds on us. And wait, hang on, why does that bother me? So this idea of when I was talking with you earlier about the name of the little short little thing I'm going to write, just an instruction manual. And by saying, "What the fuck do you want from me?" That actually causes a little burden on my heart because I'm talking like I'm talking about God. I'm asking God, and so it feels a little like disrespectful. However, I want it to be a close and personal relationship. And I don't want anything to be in between that relationship, whether it's the words that I use, because if I have a close friend, I could ask that question. What are you talking about? What do you want from me? And I could ask that question. And so I don't want anything to be out of bounds for me to talk to God about. Because really, aren't we talking to our higher self anyway?
Mm.
So what would be out of bounds? What would be out of bounds? So that's part of it for me is when I look at those kinds of things and think about that just shows up and that's particularly rough with thoughts of how you're supposed to be more religious than actually spiritual and having a relationship and all this religiosity that I've lived with my whole life. Just trying to let each one of those go. And it's a whole bunch. It's a whole bunch. And I don't know what they are until they come up.
Yeah. You said something that the phrase you used, grinds against you. You notice when it grinds against you.
Right.
That's those triggers we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. If you're triggered by something, what is the assumption I'm making about this that may be absolutely false?
Exactly.
Because there's an assumption that you're making.
Correct.
Assumption that you're making.
Correct.
I get to do
And-
I get to do not.
And I think usually that assumption is I'm not safe, which we've used that word a lot during this session. And I think there are a lot of people walking around feeling very unsafe in all situations. And all we really want is for people to make us safe. And really, there is no safety other than what's within us.
Yes.
That's what gives us safety. But you can't change the world outside of you and say, okay, all these variables have to change, or don't give me any variables. Just give me one thing and I'll feel better. Well, good luck with that. Again, we live in a vast, complicated world.
Yeah, we do.
And everybody is different than we are.
They are.
It's a beautiful song by Sarah Hickman called "The Very Thing." That it's so true of relationships. The very thing that makes you happy makes me want to fight. The very thing that makes you tired keeps me up all night. It's like we think it's going to be the one thing, but it's a different thing for everybody. Plus, when we get the one thing, then there's always another thing. There's always another thing.
What I have found in relationships, particularly close and intimate relationships, that the thing that I loved about you from the beginning is the thing that pisses me off later on. It just pisses me off. And it has to do with not that the thing is pissing me off, but that I loved it because you're doing it for me, but it bugs me when you're doing it for somebody else. Ooh. And that has nothing to do with anything but me. Because when you look at it, this is who you are. You came to the table with this. And now I'm pissed off that you're using it and taking your time away from me to share this with other people. So we never said you were only going to share it with me. You can't do it. I never said I was only going to share this feeling that I have unconditional love with everyone, about everyone, with just you. I'm going to share unconditional love with everyone that I meet, and vice versa. If you're a teacher, you're going to be teaching everyone that you meet. And I don't want you to teach me because I don't want you to help me grow. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really, I found that to be very interesting. The thing I loved about you is the thing that pisses me off when you offer it to other people in the same way that you offer it to me. Yeah, something to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, because you made me feel special. But if you make everybody else feel special, then how special can I possibly be?
Thank you. That's a good
There, though, I'm not safe. Yeah.
See, it just all comes back around.
Yeah.
And so it comes back around to it's me. The work is in me. The work is never out there. No matter how much you want it to be. It's not.
When my husband and I get in those situations with each other and we have those realizations, the other one will always say, "You married me."
Okay.
And we have a good laugh about it.
Yes.
You married me.
Like,
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
you did this on purpose, dude. Sorry. Wasn't like you didn't know.
You have plenty of time to get out of it.
Cheaper to keep her.
And that brings us to the relationship assumption that is so often made, especially when we're younger, I think, but I think by a lot of people when we're older too, is that I will change this. I assume that this will get better, that I will be able to exert my influence on it, and it will change. That is not a good assumption. It really isn't. It really isn't.
Not for any relationship, not just your spouse.
Yeah, anybody.
Children, your sister, anybody you're in relationship with, none of that is going to change unless they want it to, unless they said. I don't like
unless they want it to.
Here's a safe assumption.
if that is a safe assumption.
Probably say exactly as they are. Unless somebody does a whole lot of work and they'll and only they can do the work.
Only they can decide, you know what, this isn't working. And only when it stops working. I mean, when it really stops working. I mean, things stop working long before you decide to acknowledge that it's no longer working. It hasn't been working for a while. All right, let this go. But it takes we got something, it's working, and we're gonna keep forcing it to work. This hasn't worked for how long?
Or we think it might. Just one more blow, then that tree's gonna go down. If I just keep hitting it in the same way with the same thing over and over again, this is gonna be the time. This is gonna be the time.
And it usually goes in the other direction.
Does it? It'll fall over on you. That's what
And I think as we get older, those things that made us fall in love and now drive us crazy, those things only exacerbate as we get older.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always think unless we meet Jesus, then things are just going to stay the same.
They're just gonna stay the same.
If Jesus takes us to the shed.
And there are many of us who could stay as obtuse as we are right now, even in the shed with Jesus, being told the truth plain to our face. It's like, okay, not hearing a word you're saying. We do that.
And Jesus walks out of the shed saying, I don't know why I wasted my time.
Oh my God, my poor child.
My poor child. Bless his heart. Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. He's doomed to suffer even longer. More suffering. There's more. I can't save him. I can't save him from the suffering. All right.
Yeah.
Right.
So not making assumptions makes an ass out of you and umptions, right?
You and umptions.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
And the umptions.
The umptions. So we're the umptions. just
Who live next door to the clumps, I think. Yes. The umptions.
So we have about 5 or 6 minutes left. Anybody, shall we wrap up?
Yeah.
Wrap up words you want to say?
Yeah. One of the points for me about making an assumption, when I make an assumption, then it means my mind is already made up about something. I'm making assumptions because my mind is made up. And to me, if you're in relationship, even with yourself, as you're trying to evolve, we're all evolving all the time. Even if something was true about somebody at some point, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true about them at this point, because people do change. But we keep looking at them the way we knew them and not really seeing what they've evolved to. This is what family does. When you're trying, they're the best example of that. As you are evolving, they still want to see you as that 10-year-old or the 15-year-old or the 20-year-old. And so it's really they're so, to me, the family is such a lab, such a learning lab. That's what I call family, really, the learning lab. Because they're constantly trying to draw you back and they make you feel bad about growth. Well, you who you think you are. And so that's just something that I just want to know that this assumptions mean people's minds are made up, yours or theirs. And the only thing that will help, it won't help about what they're doing, is for you to know yourself and to know, whether they acknowledge it or not, I know this is who I am now. I know this is what I'm going. I know this is what I know. I'm going to stay open to questions even about what I believe, even about what I know. I still want to stay open to new possibilities. That's the only thing that works for me.
And I think assumptions are dangerous because when we predicate our actions on our assumptions. We make an assumption, we do that. And then we let it influence what our behavior is. Well, I assume you're insulting me, so I either avoid you or insult you back or start getting defensive with you.
Talk about you to other people.
So assumptions are dangerous because they will influence our behavior. Yes. So even after we've made the assumption, if we can just apply one of those tools, I could be wrong. I'm open to new information. Then we've interrupted the pattern before we act on it. Yes. And if we interrupt it before we act on it, then it gets a chance to be redeemed.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I love that. Exactly right. Yep.
I think for me, one of the things we're challenged with this class I'm taking, advanced consciousness, last year and this year, we're always challenged to question everything. And I think if we can stay in a place of curiosity and ask questions, I thought something, where did that come from? Yes. I'm thinking this, where does that come from? Somebody might have made a statement, where perhaps did that come from? Do I want to ask them, where did it come from? Yes. What are you basing that on? And that it's not just good, but it's smart to ask questions, to delve deeper, to find where something comes from. What is the basis upon which somebody's making a statement? What is the basis upon which I'm thinking a particular thing? And is that right? And to hold no shame for that. I think we should be proud of the fact that we are curious and we ask questions.
Be curious.
We do have great minds, but part of that is that we have the ability to question and then decipher new information and to use it for ourselves. So this has been good. I love number 3. Do not make assumptions.
Do it. Don't do it.
Questions or comments, you can always contact us through our website or at realtalksisters@gmail.com. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back. Next week, I think we're going to run a previous show because our producer is not available next week. And we're sending our love and healing love to Zoe.
Yes.
And then we'll be back with you live the week after that.
Yeah. With assumption number 4. Agreement number 4.
I'm assuming that you're going to be there. I'm assuming that you are.
I'm triggered by that, Melinda. I don't know how you see that.
I'll just do my best. I'm just doing my best. That's all I can do.
That's all is required. All that is required.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's always a pleasure, my sisters, to be with you and to talk with you and to do what we do best, which talk and think and challenge each other and to share ideas and insights and wisdom. So it's been wonderful. Thank you, Zoe. You're the best producer ever. We love you dearly. And we would not and could not do this without you. We'll see you live in 2 weeks, folks. Stay tuned for the replay next week.